What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increased their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst and sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Welcome to Omnipresent Awareness with Shilpa. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, owner and founder of Omni Mindfulness Coaching. Before we get started, if you haven't already booked a free discovery session with me, click on the link in the description. I'm a holistic transformational life coach, specializing in helping midlife mompreneurs bring balance, clarity, and life alignment, both personally and professionally, so that you may live your best life. There is tremendous healing value in simply being able to know someone is holding authentic space for you to listen and be accessible as an accountability partner and mentor. If you feel overwhelmed, or if you feel the need for some support navigating life as a mother or as an entrepreneur, I would love to provide you with my coaching. If any anecdotes from the stories of the guests from this episode or any of the podcast episodes resonate with you, or if you find any value at all from the content from these episodes, then consider booking a free discovery call with me. Together, we can manifest my vision to be instrumental in the biggest rise in consciousness and awareness and human transformation. And now, here is today's episode. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. In this month's edition of Mindful Mompreneur podcast, we cover holistic wellness. And in today's conversation, we have Juli Wright, who is an entrepreneur, speaker, sleep ambassador, and author of The Natural Sleeper, which is an introduction to an extensive range of natural, alternative solutions, as well as therapies, techniques, and practices and tips to help improve our sleep. Juli is also Chief Sleep Orchestrator and founder of We Sleep, a well-being provider focused on sleep, providing webinars, workshops, lectures, discussion panels, one-on-one consultations, and therapeutic sessions on the topic of sleep deprivation and insomnia to a wide range of organizations and business clients such as startups, agencies, media, entertainment companies, banks, festivals, conferences, nonprofit, education, and government organizations, and many, many more. In addition, Juli is an ambassador for World Sleep Day. In Juli's own words, having battled with sleep issues for years, I embarked on a journey full of learning, discovery, and therapeutic experiments to resolve them. This gave me the idea to help myself and others with the issue of insomnia and poor sleep quality, re-energizing sleep-deprived individuals by teaching them how to sleep naturally for optimal physical and mental health. With a good night's sleep, nothing can stop you, and you could achieve your life's dreams. I believe sleep is one of the answers to becoming a superhuman. And now, Julie.
Okay.
Welcome, Julie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you again, Julie. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tanya and Shilpa. It's honestly a pleasure. I love doing these things and just getting the word out about sleep.
Absolutely. Well, and for that very reason, we are so excited because the theme is about tuning in and healing and holistic approaches to sleep. So tell us a little bit about your journey emerging as a sleep expert and writing The Natural Sleeper.
Yeah. Where's my book? Yes, this is it. I like to show it on camera. I don't know if it reads, the letters actually read properly.
It actually
see
does.
Yours read properly.
Yours too, yes.
Yeah, The Natural Sleeper. I was just saying my labor of sleep love. How did I get to writing this book and, knowing quite a bit about sleep? I won't call myself a sleep expert. I call myself a sleep ambassador, which is really about spreading the word and helping people with information and tools and techniques and therapies and solutions, for better sleep. It started with me being an insomniac, and it sort of happened at some point of my life where I went through a breakup and I lost my job at the time. And I moved to a different country. So this is when I moved to the UK. And that really disrupted my life. But I didn't do anything about it. I just kept on going, sleeping not a lot, feeling the impact, but powering through. I then at some point I went to the doctor, and I was prescribed sleeping pills, which had a horrendous effect on me. I had all the side effects that you can think of. Fortunately, not addiction, because unfortunately sleeping pills can lead you there. But I felt terrible with it, and I just decided this is not for me. And so I kept going, powering through, and did nothing about it until I started exploring more natural and holistic ways, to approach sleep, both mind and body, and keeping my mind quite open, with all the things that I could do. So I experimented with it, read books, had basically tried different therapies and see what works for me. And I think with time, I just felt like I wanted to share that knowledge. And then I just got much more educated on the topic and attending sleep medicine conferences and working with sleep scientists and researchers as well. And it gave me the idea to put together, a workshops, webinars, talks on the topic of sleep in a very, how can I say, a very accessible way, so that anybody could understand the topic without going into the sleep medicine jargon, which makes it a bit difficult to understand. So this is how I founded We Sleep, which is the business with which I'm doing these mostly for corporate workshops. I started doing them for the general public. And then companies started paying attention. It's really interesting because a lot of businesses care about their employee well-being. They realize that if you sleep well, you're better at work, right? And then on a personal level, employees want to sleep better so they can just feel better and be happier and healthier. So that's kind of where I am now. And so the Natural Sleeper is basically all my experimentation and research, most of which I've done. I haven't done absolutely everything, but it covers therapies and tips and tricks and technology and, and everything that you can think of, because I think that everyone should find their own path to better sleep. And we're all different. Every day's different. Every night's different. So it's more about arming people with a bag of tools and tricks and solutions, So this is my journey towards sleep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful journey at that. And Yeah, we're going to get into that question of what modalities you use, but just to give people an idea, I was listening to another podcast and it was talking about the importance of sleep and even the link of sleep with being overweight and so many other detrimental things to your body. The importance of sleep, I think, is very underestimated. So it's tremendous work that you're doing. I just thought I'd put that out there.
It is. And believe it or not, when you don't sleep sufficiently, you eat more because your body creates more energy, and you tend to eat 300 to 500 calories more. It's been actually studied scientifically per day. Just from being tired. So actually, yes, if you want to manage your weight, it's important to sleep. And there's also very much a correlation between sleep and obesity. So over time, and especially when you're looking at children, you have to watch and make sure that they sleep well, because of course, not sleeping well has a lot of, has huge impact on kids, but obesity might be one of them as well, because they'll be hungrier naturally. And this is because our hormones, our hunger hormones, our ghrelin hormone just sort of revs up, and is increased in our bodies and makes us want to eat more, not only more, but also not so healthy foods. Exactly, bad stuff, whether it's sugary, salty or fatty foods. And this is what you want to eat when you feel really tired,
One of the things I just loved is that even last night when I was reading this book, I saw a chart in your book that talks about age group in correlation to sleeping.
Yes.
And I looked at my son who wanted to stay up a little bit longer. I'm like, no, according to the chart, which, by the way, there are these beautiful infographics in your book that map out the different spectrums of approaches to sleep, as well as different data points, which I find fascinating. But one of my favorite quotes is, "Sleep is like an orchestra."
Yes.
And then talks about there's instruments and the brain is the master, and to adapt and adjust. And I just love the way you articulated that the tools and solutions are there, but there's an orchestra of tools to make that sleep. Could you share more about that?
Yes. Basically, we are, as human beings, we are diurnal beings, which means that we're meant to be active by day and asleep by night, and some beings are nocturnal, and like foxes, for example, or owls, and they're awake by night and asleep by day, or bats, for example. But for as humans, this is how we operate, and our bodies and our brains conspire for us to sleep. We have this is why I call it an orchestra, because it is such a complex process. And in fact, scientists and researchers definitely do not have all the answers and still researching on that topic. But between the hormones and the neurochemicals and your nervous system, which is involved, also in helping you rest and fall asleep eventually. So all of that needs to happen in a certain sequence with a certain regularity for you to fall asleep more easily. So, but what's interesting is that the brain manages all that. The brain perceives the brightness and color of the light and determines whether it's morning or night, or what time. And so it is with the light that your body clock sets. Your day starts, your body clock starts, your circadian rhythm starts with the morning and the light, which is why it's so important to be exposed to daylight, natural daylight, as early as you can in the morning and going outside. This is how you start your clock. And the brain then perceives that level of light, that color of light, and then decides what to do, with releasing cortisol hormone to wake you up, or melatonin hormone to help you fall asleep. There's also another process around your sleep pressure, which is feeling really sleepy, is also due to a third hormone called adenosine, which makes you feel sleepy. So melatonin is about when you fall asleep, or when you feel sleepy, and adenosine is how sleepy you feel. And all has to happen, at the right time So if you release the wrong hormones at the wrong time of the day, it'll be a bit like being jet lagged, and feeling sleepy at the wrong time of the day or night. So I call it an orchestra because it is very much a combination of factors and, like I said, neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, and our nervous system coming together in our brain, helping us fall asleep. So in theory, you don't need sleeping pills because your own internal pharmacy already exists in your body and your brain. We have the elements and the medication, if you will, naturally built in us to sleep naturally, which is why I called my book The Natural Sleeper, because that's what it's about. It's about reconnecting with our natural ability to sleep.
And what's right in order to help your natural self do what it has to do in order to get the proper sleep, waking up, it's great. I love the way you articulate it to it, like Shilpa said. And I believe that the scientists can't completely see everything because there's a little bit of magic when you sleep.
There is.
So
there certainly is.
Yeah. Can you let us know, how do you integrate any mindfulness modalities to all of this, all of your work and everyday life?
So you're talking about my life, or you're talking about in relation to sleep?
In relation to sleep, yeah.
To sleep, yes.
And for life as well, but in relation to sleep, just to keep it.
To sleep, yes. Mindfulness, or any mindful techniques, which is, the awareness and the breath and the slowing down, and what's related to that, is really important to sleep because it helps soothe your nervous system and activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is biologically what you need to fall asleep. If your active nervous system, which is the sympathetic nervous system, is activated, then you're going to really struggle to sleep, even if you're really tired. So you'll feel tired but wired. And so when you're using any of the meditation or mindfulness techniques or breath works even, is essential for that, to soothe the vagus nerve and then turn down the volume. Your heart rate slows down, your breath slows down, your body temperature cools down a little bit. All of that is what's required to sleep. But I'd say, with in the book, I do have definitely covered and included mindfulness. I didn't go in a lot of detail about it because there are books that specialize in it. But for some people, that's all they need, is just to be more mindful about how they live their life, the choices they make, and having more noticing and being more so taking in more of what surrounds them, and it helps them stay calm, and like I said, just really relax them ultimately, which is what you need to sleep. Mindfulness techniques that are also about noticing parts of the body are great. So things like body scanning is great, and so there's different mindfulness meditational techniques, but those are great because you sort of take notice of different parts of your body and you can realize how tense you are and make a conscious effort to relax a part of your body that is too tense, because tension also is basically a sign that you're not ready to fall asleep. When you fall asleep, your muscle tone completely releases, except when you dream, actually, your body is paralyzed, and that's totally normal. It's so that you don't act out your dream. But falling asleep also means that your muscles completely relax, and that's so essential to fall asleep as well. So, I mean, on a personal level, I definitely include it, but not necessarily with relation to sleep, but even to things that I do every day, which is perhaps noticing the way things smell, or even actually I applied more mindful eating because I noticed that I was eating so fast, or while doing something else, that now I make a conscious effort to stop, not be in front of my phone or my computer, but stop, eat, and eat mindfully and things like that. So I think mindfulness should be integrated into all aspects of your life, and just having more awareness. And also bringing some of that calm and serenity into your life, because that will help you sleep. And for some people, that's all they need,
Yeah. You're on mute, Shilpa.
In the book, you also mentioned yoga nidra, which is
yes.
I suffered and still suffer from sleep issues, and whenever I do the yoga nidra, I always sleep really well through the night.
Yes, yoga nidra is actually also so it's called also yogic sleep, you know. So it's interesting because while yoga can be either meditative and spiritual or quite physical and athletic, and you know it's quite tough, all the stretches and the strength that you need and the concentration you need on your body. But yoga nidra is almost like the opposite of all of that. It's really when you let go. And yoga nidra is poses you take, which are when you're in fully relaxed mode, but it also involves a body scan and a meditation. So you're sort of combining different elements that help, again, soothe your nervous system, you know, and sort of bring that calm, peace and serenity and full relaxation and being really conscious. It's actually, I find yoga nidra quite mindful, actually, because you really take huge consciousness. You have huge consciousness of your body, you know. And my favorite yoga nidra poses are with legs against, so laying on my back with legs on the wall, or even with my legs hanging over the sofa or chair or something. And instantly with that rush, I guess maybe the body going from feet to head also, I feel instantly rejuvenating. It's very much of a restorative practice. It's a relaxing practice. It's one you can even fall asleep with. And this is why I thought it'd be good to integrate it. It's something you can do during the day or right before bedtime, which I think is really nice.
Absolutely. And I find all of those techniques you've mentioned wonderful in terms of holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
And could you share a little bit about how you may have shifted or approached life now that you are aware of all of these holistic approaches and a way of living that helps your sleep?
Sure. Well, that's it. I sleep much better. Oh my God. I try to practice what I preach. Now, I am human and I will go through times where, you know, I'd experience intense stress. Like, for example, I had illness in my family, both of my parents at the same time. Very stressful, you know, and I'm not going to say that I had the best night's sleep. But after a couple of days, 2, 3 days, that's usually my limit. You know, if after 3 nights I haven't slept properly, then I really say, okay, I need to make a conscious effort. Number one, to prioritize my sleep. Number two, to create the best environmental conditions for good sleep, you know, so darkness, you know, and as much blackout, actually being completely dark, cool, a cool room, so not being too hot, because if your body temperature rises, you are likely to wake up, which is why it's so hard to sleep in summer, you know, because hotter body is basically related to daytime, which is when the sun is out, which is when it's warmer. So automatically you'll wake up more easily. So yes, quiet, dark, and cool. I make sure that I eat the right things, also nutrition, and so also create some regularity in my routine, you know, so waking up at the same time, even if I've slept really poorly, because when you do that, you build sleep debt. So you build the pressure to sleep, and you'll sleep better the following night and perhaps the following nights as well. I also use herbal remedies, or I might do, it really depends. Like I sort of see what's happening in the day. And you know, out of all the solutions that I talk about in my book, I just pick what works, what seems like is what I need for today, you know. And it could be taking a warm bath, you know, a couple of hours before bedtime, because this will help bring down my body temperature. It could be adopting a yoga nidra pose, or it could be spending more time outdoors. Also, it's so important to be exposed to daylight in the daytime. So sometimes, especially working from home in COVID times, you know, I could really feel the difference of not having the exposure to natural daylight in the daytime. So making sure to walk for perhaps 45 minutes to an hour between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., which is when, you know, the sun is bright enough so you can absorb that light produce that melatonin, because we produce melatonin through exposure to light and eating certain foods and vitamin D. So, what I make sure of is to integrate all of these, these techniques. I adapt them depending on what happens in the day. And I'm trying to go back to what your original question was, because I feel maybe I've wandered.
No, actually,
And
You did
yeah.
answer it, and it really does go back to that
okay,
the orchestra of different
yes.
approaches. Because I do find that on a typical day, I will be doing those things, like maybe soaking my feet in Epsom, or drinking golden milk before bed,
Mm-hmm.
or a chamomile tea. It varies depending on what's going on
Mm-hmm.
physiologically. But, even though I'm aware of melatonin and vitamin D connection, I sincerely didn't think being out in nature would help my sleep by evening. That's a wonderful tip.
Yes, there's been a very famous Japanese study actually where they put people in the forest and they sort of compared with people not being in the forest and natural environment. And they realized that people actually, after a week, started sleeping much better just from being outdoors and being in nature as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love
Yeah.
that you tell our audience basically not to be hard on themselves, because
Mm-hmm.
even you as a I'll call you a sleep expert, because with all the knowledge that you've been giving us, we consider you an expert. Even as the person who is an expert at this, you admit that it's not always easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Things happen in life. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that you're transparent like that, and you're able to allow our audience and us to not feel bad, and just integrate little habits
Yes.
that are going to make it better for you, and be aware.
Exactly. And be aware, exactly. And you're right. And and also the fact that I have the issue, and even though I'm so much better now, but it still happens from time to time. This is also what encourages me to explore other therapies, or go back to some that I know have worked, or just really practice what I preach. So I come from a place of experience, rather than just a theoretical knowledge, so because I know what I know what it feels like when you don't sleep sufficiently. The latest therapy that I've done this for about 8 weeks. I did a course, is autogenics, which is really interesting. And this combines different things like self-hypnotherapy and sort of also being really mindful of your body and experiencing sensations. And what was fascinating is that we were a group of perhaps 8 people, and we all came because of different reasons. Me, I was interested in it for sleep. Others had maybe fibromyalgia, for example, or somebody else had anxiety. So everyone had different things. But what was interesting is that after a few sessions, the first thing that everyone said is how much better they slept, And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't experienced this therapy, autogenics, I would have never known how powerful it is, So I try to really practice what I preach, and yes, I have issues with sleep, from time to time, and it keeps me on my toes, to have empathy for people who struggle with it.
Well, what gives it more credibility is it's not like you were saying earlier, it's not just pure theoretical. Because
Mm-hmm.
often those who are sharing the knowledge or writing it in a book may not be the same people that on a daily basis experience it. But you must have had a real fire inside of you that not only did you learn all these different modalities of techniques, you wrote a book on it, now you have a business. So clearly there was some passion behind that. This wasn't your day job, right?
Yes, yes. No, it wasn't. My background originally was in media and entertainment, and also tech. And yeah, you're right. So I'm so passionate about it. This is why I call perhaps myself an ambassador, and I'm so it's so important for me to try and help if I can. I just feel that this is almost like a mission, So yes, you're right. And a lot of times people say, yeah, you can tell you're passionate, and it's true. This is really something that I feel, there's a lot of areas of well-being that interest me, but this is the one that drives me.
Yeah, it really shows. And that brings us nicely to our last question, which is about entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And what insights you might have to share with our audience on holistic wellness and how to integrate it as an entrepreneur.
It's a fascinating question because I'm actually working on an app project, and for that I wanted to interview entrepreneurs, specifically women, to see where they were coming from, because I heard that so many entrepreneur women struggle with with sleep, um, for a lot of different reasons. It's really tough because you have your business, perhaps your relationships, and perhaps even a family to look after while you're, perhaps having also a day job, on top of trying to build your business, and so there's so many.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think also because we're as entrepreneurs, like you say, you're so passionate about what you do, you almost lose sleep because of
Over it.
passion over it. Yeah. You're just constantly thinking of your business and how you can serve your community, that you maybe you lose a little bit of sleep out.
You look, yeah, and it's that excitement and that passion that keeps you awake. So, I mean, the advice for me, this is not so much of a physiological problem. It's more of a psychological one, and more in one that is manageable by managing the brain, by structuring the brain. So a lot of times for entrepreneurs, I suggest really to become excellent planners, to plan and to prioritize, and to do this not in the morning, but at the end of the day, with a couple of hours at least before bedtime, so that your brain doesn't continue processing all these priorities and all these pressures while you are asleep, because the brain wants regularity and safety. Our brain is a calculator. It wants to know what's going to happen and when. And so if you can put as much structure and foundation over what you're trying to achieve by when, what you're going to do when, pretty much, is you're going to really bring a lot of safety and serenity to your brain, and you'll sleep a little bit more, a little bit more easily. And also staying away from stimulants. I see a lot of entrepreneurs relying on coffee to keep them going. It's hard to give up coffee. I gave up about 10 years ago, and it was tough. But you definitely would see the impact of that, of when you are able to sleep. So and obviously you have to give yourself the opportunity to sleep, because sleep won't just happen, if you don't give it time, so it's very much about giving yourself the opportunity and managing all the stimulation, having a good planning and prioritization approach, to your work, and know that you can do everything and anything, but you can't, well, I'm not saying this right? You can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? So it's also sort of picking and choosing and planning over perhaps a longer time frame. And, and I'm guilty of this as well, but I've learned now to really compartmentalize my life, so that when I shut down the laptop, there is something I've trained my brain to accept, that I need to stop, because otherwise I won't be functional the next day. I won't be a good leader the next day. I won't be able to make decisions or strategize. I'm just going to, it might lead me to failure down the line, so it's important to remember that sleeping well will help you be a better entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was just reading a book, Indistractable, and they talk about time boxing, and the importance of that, and sleep comes into play as well, and how extremely important it is for us to sleep. Studies upon studies are coming out about sleep. So yeah.
Yes, because a lack of sleep will impact your cognitive abilities, and so you won't be able to think properly, or not as fast, for sure. You can't, it's harder to make decisions, to strategize, concentrate, focus. I mean, the list goes on. And when you've slept well, you're just on fire. Everything happens, and you just come up with ideas. You remember also better, because there's our learning is consolidated while we sleep. So our memory could be impacted by poor sleep as well. So most of the reason to prioritize sleep.
Yeah, so much healing goes on in our sleep.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow, Julie, this is just fascinating. I would love to have you back in the future. And I'm just digging into your book, and I'm learning so much. But you've truly given a gift to the world through your passion.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. That warms my heart.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Such a joy.
Great. Thank you for having me very much.
And I recommend her book. Please, anyone, The Natural Sleeper.
That's right. And we'll put the link in the descriptions.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description, and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.